Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another episode of Super Sayles. It's finally here, it's finally happened after 33 years. City of Hope on Blu-ray. I'm going to have to put away my deluxe collector's handwritten edition that I did myself on DVD and actually have a Blu-ray of it. The Blu-ray looks wonderful because I've watched it already. It was released in the USA on the 16th of April, but it is a multi-region Blu-ray. It's an A, B and C, and it has a commentary by Sayles himself, who's one of the great directors who do commentaries. It's so informative, how to deal with extras. Obviously, as John Sayles fans know, he gives each kind of character a little essay, or sometimes a big essay, about the character, their history. So they come on set because he's dealing with a limited budget and limited time, and he only does about 2 or 3 takes. So the actors don't want to know what their motivation is and who their character is when they're actually on set. City of Hope was made for $3 million. A 5-week shoot, which is actually quite a long time for a John Sayles film, and he took 7 weeks to edit it. So at the time, or possibly it is, he states in the commentary, this was the film that had the most speaking parts in any Sayles film. It does have tons of characters, and people who aren't kind of used to that might feel a little bit overwhelmed. But as with all John Sayles films, one of the takeaways is everybody's connected. So this was shot in Cincinnati, where he shot 8 Men Out as well. He said the crew of A Rage in Harlem had just finished, and Jodie Foster and the crew for Little Man Tate were in town filming as well, and John Sayles' crew would see Jodie Foster's crew in the morning come out of their hotel to shoot Little Man Tate. So it's not in a specific city, it's just about one of those industrial American cities that doesn't really have industry anymore, and is falling apart. It's kind of a forerunner of The Wire. Frankie Faison's even in it, who was obviously in The Wire. And it goes from, it goes through the strata of the city from the mayor's office down. But as with Sayles at his best, and this is one of his best, you're still in with characters that you actually are interested in and care about, regardless of who they are and where their kind of station in life is. So along with the Sayles eternal themes of everybody being connected, there's also the thing of his films are generally about people who have power and people who don't have power, and how those people act. It's also about how, as an individual, a reaction or interaction you have with somebody and what kind of mood that puts you in can then affect the next person you have an interaction with, whether you know them or not. So in basic terms, I'm not going to go into who's connected to who and who knows who, because a lot of the enjoyment in the film is realising, oh, that person is actually that person's that person. So I'm not going to go into who's connected to who. But the cast, as usual in Sayles, it's a big cast. Some are regulars, some are not. So we've got Vincent Spano, Tony LaBianco, who's Vincent Spano's character's dad, Joe Morton, of course, is the brother on Our Planet, and Lone Star, David Strathairn, who has an interesting role in the film, let's just say. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. Anthony John Dennison, who you might not recognise the name, but he was in Michael Mann's Crime Story. Barbara Williams, Angela Bassett, who of course is in Sunshine State as well. Gloria Foster, Lawrence Tierney's in it for a scene. John Sayles plays Carol, the fairly dodgy mechanic. And Sayles gives a wonderful performance. As he said in the commentary, he needed somebody at one point. Carol has to be a little bit perhaps heavy-handed with Vincent Spano, and Vincent Spano's a big guy, and John Sayles is a big guy, so that's why he cast himself, and obviously you save money casting yourself if you're the writer, director and editor. Maggie Renzi's in it, Sayles producer. There's lots of familiar faces. I mean, I could go through the list. Josh Mostell's in it, Stephen Lang, who I didn't even realise was actually a grip on lots of Sayles films, and then it kind of went, oh, you would actually be quite good at acting. So he is a key grip on the film, and also in the film. Kevin Tighe, one of the heavies from Matewan, he's in it. Chris Cooper's in it as a sporting character. Gina Gershon, a very young Gina Gershon, plays Vincent Spano's sister. And Miriam Colon, who was so great in Lone Star, she's in it, and she's connected. Yeah, she's connected as well. Everybody's connected to everybody. As I said, it's widescreen, shot by Robert Robinson. No, that's a different person. Robert Richardson, I'll get there eventually. He's obviously shot a ton of stuff for Oliver Stone and lots of other people. Shot in super 35mm. It's widescreen. There's lots of long shots. And Sayles talks about that in the commentary. You know, you have these 8-minute shots, and then you've got one actor coming in at the end and hopefully not ruining the take. But obviously the actors that Sayles hires don't do that kind of thing. So you'll have these wonderful shots where you'll have two characters talking, and then two other characters walk down the stairs, then the camera picks them up and then follows them, and then the camera comes back and picks up the original couple of characters. So it's a very fluid film, you know, and not a lot of people, but some people say, well, you know, Sayles is a brilliant writer, but perhaps, you know, as a filmmaker he's not the most dynamic. But then if you watch City of Hope, Lone Star, he knows how to use a camera, and because of the number of characters in the film, that's why he decided to do these long takes and kind of have the camera essentially just snaking its way through this city and the levels of strata of that city. So yes, it's a film about people with power, people without power. It's also a film about favours, and to get something done you need to do a favour for somebody else, and then that favour has consequences for somebody else or somebody downstream that you don't think that'll affect, but it affects everybody to devastating effect. So even though you're assaulted by all these characters, and even the simplest little favours between a husband and wife has effects downstream that affects other people, and we all have to make choices that we don't like. There's lots of characters in this film who essentially get two choices and they're both bad. So it's not like, you get one choice that's bad and one choice that you can save yourself or whatever. They're generally two bad choices. Because again, even though Sayles is, you could argue a foolhardy idealist about, why can't we get along and everybody's the same and we're all kind of connected and we're all in the same boat. He's also not a fantasist. The City of Hope in the title is more a question rather than a statement. Again, the ending perhaps isn't as hopeful as the title would suggest. Sayles in the commentary says that it's probably one of his films that got the most positive reviews, but the word that kept coming up was grim, and he said that's not really good for box office because people don't go, hey, let's go and watch a film tonight in the cinema that's grim. It looks beautiful. There's a couple of absolutely beautiful scenes that make me rather emotional. One particularly involving a basketball. It's just another Sayles masterwork. Obviously it's my opinion and my opinion is not fact. It's 130 minutes, flies by. You want to see more of certain characters, other characters perhaps less of, but it's how a city works. Again, it's certainly a precursor to The Wire, as far as, we see the mayor's office, we see the deals that are made because there's a new building complex that needs to go through, so everybody in the local government basically can get money from it. But it is essentially trying to get rid of the last kind of tenements or apartments in the poor neighbourhood where Joe Morton is the councilman for. Tony LeBianco owns a construction company. So everybody gets pressured and everybody's got something on somebody else. And again, it's all the favours and consequences of actions. And at one point, when speaking to somebody who doesn't really want to do what they have to do because somebody's got them over a barrel, John Sayles' character pretty much says, it's life, what are you going to do? Essentially, the film could have been called What You Going to Do, when you're given these choices. And as I said, most of the choices that people are given are bad. So it's about, do you stick to your principles? Or do you just forget you've got principles for a little while? I mean, one of the other strands of the story is, that two kids get harassed by cops, and then they're so annoyed at the way they're treated by the cops, then they beat up this professor who happens to be jogging by, and then when they're taken into the police station, they claim that he made sexual advances to him, which therefore has all these political effects of who you're supporting. Are you supporting the two black kids? Are you supporting the white professor? The school gets involved, the media, it's just every little decision and action has a consequence that again will affect people downstream, even though if you're the mayor sitting in the mayor's office, let's be honest, the stuff that happens in the poor parts of town doesn't really affect you. And it's the same all the way through the film, with all the characters. I mean, again, I don't particularly find the film grim. Again, is it hopelessly romantic and optimistic? No, but it's realistic, and there's always the hope. I mean, it's in the title. There's always the hope that people can change. There's always the hope that we sort ourselves out. But again, as I said, Sayles isn't a fantasist. And again, it has one of the, very much like the Chris Cooper, Elizabeth Pennier romance, and City of Hope, and Lone Star, sorry. City of Hope has another realistic romance between Vincent Spano and Barbara Williams' character. She is a single mother who has a child with cerebral palsy, who was actually Chris Cooper and his wife's son, who appears in the film. So again, it's not, it's not the usual movie romance. She's a single mother, as I say, with a kid who's got cerebral palsy. She's trying to look after him while having a job, while being in further education to try and get a better job to look after her son. So again, it's not the Hollywood idealised romance. Even that has baggage to it. Again, obviously I'm biased, but it's another absolutely great John Sayles film. One of his many 90s bangers. I recently did my favourite 25 films from the 90s. I think I had 4 Sayles films in it. I could have easily had 6. And it's actually, as with Matewan finally getting a Blu-ray, and Lone Star getting a Blu-ray and a 4K, it was pretty emotional when I opened the package and I actually saw Lone Star with that little B symbol for Blu-ray. It would bring a tear to a glass eye. It really would. Absolutely brilliant. Again, I'm not going to go into too much of the plot details, because let's be honest, not everybody's seen City of Hope, even though it's 33 years old. Thanks very much for watching another Super Sayles. There will be more, because he has made lots of super films, in my terrible opinion. So hopefully you'll join me for more. Hopefully if I keep doing these, more of these films will magically appear in Blu-ray. So if anybody's listening that makes those kind of decisions, obviously Passion Fish would be amazing, Limbo would be amazing, Sunshine State, Return of the Secaucus 7, Brother from Another Planet, Liana, Secret of Rowan Inish, Cassie Hostilis Babies, Silver City, Gopher Sisters, Amigo, if anybody's listening. Okay, I'll go away now. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Super Sayles. If you have seen City of Hope, please let me know what you think of it. If you haven't, go out and buy 10 copies of this so companies realise people want to see John Sayles films on Blu-ray. And hopefully you'll join me again sometime. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, ridiculously giddy, saying farewell.